Hi everyone, so my name is Eric Houvenaghel from the company Ytria. We are the provider of solution and tools for developers and administrator of Notes Domino. So good afternoon to everybody. I'm going to show you some ways to work in a more easiest way for developers. Because, well, being myself a developer for more than 30 years about on Notes Domino, definitely, we know that working with Notes Domino sometimes can be a bit cumbersome. We can use a lot of time on some stupid thing where we shouldn't. And the main idea of everything we do as Ytria is to get rid of this stupid thing so we can focus on what is really important. So yesterday I did a presentation about administration. Today it's going to be mostly about development. So the development part, that's something that changed and evolved with Notes Domino, because from the version, if we look at version 4 to what we have today with the version 11 and soon to be released 12, a lot of things changed, but still some core are still here. So what I'm going to present today is different tools we offer for the developers to simplify your life. To stop, we had a customer that says, stop spending your time on the donkey work. You want to spend time on something that matters and not spending your days just changing some views or just adding an action in your action bar and stuff like that. So this is where we have tools for everything. As you can see, all our tools, the naming is pretty straightforward. So action bar easy for the fact that it's easy. The action bar easy is going to be action bars. View easy is going to be about views. Design prop easy is going to be about this generic design information on the design element. The signature for the sign easy, agent easy that I already presented yesterday, but work for the development part too. So about agent. And the last one, which is a bit different, scan easy, where scan easy here, the name is not to scan stuff. So we name it because it gives you the ability to get inside of everything in your database. So let's go to the practical side. So I will begin by action bar easy. So my tools are here. First thing to say, so our tools that we use have their own Notes session. So you can work in Notes, keep your I would say your personal session, and then use the tool with another session, switch into it and to a different session. So it's not like the Notes client designer and users that they have to share the same session. Here you can have multiple tools open and you can have multiple sessions. Each one can have a different session. The way it works is pretty simple. Select your database and I'm going to launch action bars. So focus is pretty simple. You open the application, and what it shows will show you all the elements. So it's looking at the current database, and it's going to show you all the elements, all the design element of your Notes database. So what I'm going to do is simply say, okay, I want to see all the actions available inside of my database because I need to do some change to add an action, to move some action across my design element. So once it will load everything, okay, here we are. I'm going to expand that to the maximum. So here I'm going to have on this column all the shared action available in my design, in my database. And after that, I will have each column here is going to be, in fact, a design element. So as we can see, I have some design elements that doesn't have any actions. So what I'm going to do simply to say, okay, just simply hide me the empty design element. I just want to focus with what contains, in fact, action. I'm going to resize that so it's a bit more global vision. And so now here I can see right away all my actions, so all together, and the way they are organized together. So no more need to go from one design to another to be able to check your situation. Here, just as a glimpse, you see right away your situation on the action bar. And if you need to, so if I go up here, If you need to move or to add an action, so it's pretty simple. I'm just going to say, okay, I want to have this action in this other design element. Just click drag and drop, and that's it. Okay, I'm going to put it here too, here too, here too. So as you see, copying and handling action among my design elements is pretty simple. You have, so you see globally the action. You can have some views here that show you the important part about just sharing, not sharing, action. Usually today we try to share as much as we can. You can have a vision by shared. So if you want to see how everything is being shared together, so if I go here, for example, I can quickly have a glimpse of the situation and see if effectively I use this shared action among my different design elements, yes or no, and is it the same one as another one? So it's free. I don't know how much time you may have already spent and lost on manipulating action bars. You can see that here, action bar becomes, we can say that action bar became detail rather than, okay, now I have to add my action on all my action bars, so I have to spend a full day just going through all my views and forms and etc. So just here in a few minutes, it's pretty easy to check a situation and to change something. When I was, I just show you the move, but you can do the addition. So you have access to the shared, to the action details. You can select multiple action at once and to across design element. And from there, you will be able to change directly the setting of all this action at once. You will have the ability to have some vision. So if I go on the display here, you have some, you can add more information inside of this grid. You have some color scheme. So if you want to see something more from a vision of, okay, is it shared or not shared, more on the action type. So what kind of action are we talking about? Is it a formula, a Lotus script, single action, etc. So definitely manipulating action bar from here is really, really, really easy. Something else to see is you can also apply quickly. Usually this is really a pain. The action bar, I always talk about the global action bar settings of the action bar, like the background color, the font used, and everything. So here you have the ability to define and to reset this to all your action bars at once, or a selection of action bar together. And you will have the ability to apply to say, okay, now I want this border and it's going to be pink. And I'm going to put, let's say, a button background of a really nice cyan. I'm going to apply that. So now I'm changing all my database at once. Just in a GIF, I could have used another design element as a template to apply to all my existing design elements. And now when it will be finished in a few seconds, we will have the ability to see the extraordinary result of my change. Et voilà. So I changed with all my action bar at once. So it took me about 2 minutes the time to go through just to change my look and feel of my action bar global. So that's action bar. Now what I propose is to look at another tool. So view is, so views and folder. So now you get the idea. Action bar, get the database, we get all the action bar together at once rather than going on every design element one by one. Here now we're going to look at views and folders, because views and folders are the core of everything in the notes database. I think everybody can agree on that. And the objective is going to say, okay, well, I need to manipulate and do some mass change or analysis on my views. View is a bit more rich, I would say richer. Better to say that this way. It's richer than action bar easy. Let me show you why. So I'm going to load all my views and folders details inside of my presentation. And inside of that, so when it will be done, and here we are. So this is all my view. I'm going to resize a bit that so to have a better situation. So we can see multiple, the same, you see it, we're consistent, the same presentation as we had before. We have some small icons here that give you a quick idea. Is this categorization? Is this sorting? Is this hidden? So that give you, because usually these are really important when you're looking at a view to see, okay, is this a color column? Is this an icon column? And stuff like that. So, and inside of UEZ, we added something else, which is the search ability. There is something that I really love with search is this option, the search for columns similar to the current selected column. Let me show you what is the consequence of that. So let's say I have, you see, a succession of columns with some icons that I want to check that first, they are effectively everywhere, and they are correctly saved. So I'm going to select my columns here. I'm going to click here and say, okay, find me exact match. And now tags everything you find the same. And you see now, you selected in all my columns, the same icons with the numbers. So you see the first one and all the ones that match, all the two that match. So now it's really, really easy, just in a glimpse, to see that first, your views the same. When you have a database with a lot of views, you want to be sure that your views follow the same structure and the same logic, so the user doesn't get lost because one time the icon is far on the left, most times the icon is far on the right. So you want that everything is consistent. And doing that with the designer, it's almost impossible, or it's a full weekend going through that. Here, just in a minute, you see right away, okay, am I consistent? Is it correct? Now, let's say, okay, I just want to focus on the view that contains these columns I want to work on. So I'm going to say, me non-tagged design element. So I'm going to click on that. And now I only see views that are tagged. So if I take, for example, I want to see the one, I'm going to use that, the select column tagged with. So click tag select. And here, you see, it just selected my one. See, I do on the 5 together, it's going to automatically select all my views all together. So now what can I do with that? Well, I can move my stuff for sure. So I can organize my views differently. I can take a bunch of columns and say, okay, this should be here. But here I'm re-adding the same column, but you see the idea of just adding columns to views. It's pretty easy. If you need to do some mass modifications, so if I reuse my select tag here, and now I'm going to do the column properties. And now what I have the ability to change at once on all my views together. I have the ability to change, so we can see that at least they are consistent. For sure, we said, give me the consistent views. So we use the formula as a key. And after that, I can check that effectively the look and feel on this column is the same for everybody. And I can change it. So I can say that, okay, this column should be like that. I'm going to apply. I just apply the same column here, the new format. So same as Action Bar Easy, you can see pretty handy, extremely powerful. And this is usually a place where we lose a lot of time and space on handling that. The same way here, we have the shared column. This is something that was created 6 or 7, I don't remember, it's too old, but they added this ability of shared column. So this can be manipulated and handled directly from here. And we have a new presentation which uses the FlexiView. So I presented yesterday the FlexiView. FlexiView is the UI tool we use in our application, and the FlexiView gives you the ability to easily manipulate a lot of information. So here you see what we did is we show you by default a set of information, But if I go on the column map, I can see that, in fact, all the properties of all my columns I put together. So what I can do, I'm going to say select all, Control A, and now I'm going to say close and show selected. Click on that. And what's going to happen is now I have in my views all the properties together. So let's say I want to check and check a situation with some colors. I'm going to do a grabbing, get a categorization by color. So sorry, there. I'm going to collapse that, like you note, Shift minus. And now I got my column organized by column, by color. I can do a sorting. I could do some filtering. So let's say I want just to see the columns that contain, for example, I can see that use add date. So this is what I'm looking for. I'm going to apply that. So I can focus only on the column. I can, if I do some more global selection, then I have the ability to, same as I was able to do in the other presentation, and we have the ability to change whatever I want in all this column at once. We even offer the ability to do some, to only, to compare some formula together if you want to look at them together. So really, when you look at it, so really the idea is to be able to understand, manipulate, see. Something I do a lot is that usually is to group by formula. This is a quick way to analyze quickly how you deal with the same data or not. Are you consistent in your views? Do you have to check something or fix something regarding this? So really, you have some tools here that give you the ability to do some really good detailed and deep analysis of your current situation. And from there, you will have the ability to do some global modification as really easily. So no more spending days just going through all your views in the designer just to check consistency, to see that everything is working together, that you are effectively showing the same information the same way in all the place, etc., etc., etc. The same way that we had the action bar settings, we have the view settings also. And this is really interesting. Because here, rather than focusing on the columns level, we're going to focus on the views information itself. So you can imagine what I'm going to show you in a few seconds is we're going to have all the views and folders, the same grid, the same flexi view with all the tools available to do searching, grouping, filtering, analysis. You can even do some exporting. If you need to do a chart showing, I don't know, I want to see a pie chart of my situation, etc. You can do that from here. After we give you the tool, after you use your imagination to go, where you want to go. And the same as before, we show by default a first set of columns, but from there, you will have the ability to, in fact, show all the properties available on views and folders and to show them through that. Close. Okay. And now I will have my views and it's coming. And now I get all my properties from all my views all together. So if I need to do a quick analysis of a situation and understand how everything is set, I can do that really, really easily and very quickly in this situation. We also have here replace in view formula. So you have the ability to use some regular expression to do some transformation, some mass global transformation on your view when you need, for example, to replace the name of a field by another one or anything that you may need to be able to do. The last one for views is going to be the indexes, because indexes is really important on views. Manage indexes, the way it works, will show you, in fact, the index situation of your views. And here we are. So from there, you will have the size of your indexes. Does it exist? How big it is? What is the situation? What is the frequency? So these are settings we had in the view setting, but here we are focusing directly on what matters from the index property point of view. So it's a quick way to look at the situation, and you have the ability from here to say, okay, I need to purge an index, so to be able to recreate an index because something is wrong, or you need to light out a database that you want to copy, for example. So after that, you know what you need to do. We provide you the tools that gives you the ability to do what you want to do. So that's for ViewEasy. So already, usually action bars and views are usually the place where we can lose some stupid time, honestly. And there, with action bar easy and ViewEasy, you can stop losing time on that. After that, we have another tool. So another tool is going to be Design Property. So as I was talking about a bit earlier, Design Property focus on all these generic design properties you have inside of the designer. So here I have my full database, going to do an audit. And it's going to show me all these generic properties. So let me expand that. So here I can see all the information about the inherit form, the prohibit refresh, that sometimes can be a tricky situation where you don't understand what something. So here, quickly, you can have a quick situation about some generic properties. This can be changed. So this grid is a particular, so you can change directly inside of the grid. You can, or you can do some. So if I go here, I get so I can see that, for example, this database is going, if I do a refresh, is going to be an issue. I'm going to correct that. I'm going to refresh the prohibit. I'm going to, I'm going to keep it as it is. I'm going to update. So now everything is false and I can apply, and it's going to apply my modification right away on the database. Something to know is everything we do, for example, we have what we call the automation. Automation is some kind of scripting, and you can definitely use automation to automate what I just did. So why is doing that? Well, let's say I have a full server, I need to check a situation or I need to correct a situation. Using the automation, you will be able to automate that, so, and to loop on all the database to do the work, to give you a report, or for example, to make a mass modification. Yesterday, I presented a tool that is Databases that lists all the database on your environment inside. So I'm going to show it quickly. The objective here is just to show you that from Databases, you have some bridge that gives you the ability to launch and to do some mass process. So let's say I'm going to load my full server on that. And when you get the list of all my database on my server, I'm going to click and select all my database. And from there, we'll have the ability to select all my database. And you see here, I have the ability to do some batch auditing or batch modification of my, and this use the same scripting system as the automation. So you can do some really global modification on multiple databases at the same time. So design property is done to work on one database at a time, but with the automation capacity, then you have the ability to go way further and to do some mass audit and mass modification on your environment. So next tool is going to be Signs. So signing is something that is extremely important in Snowsdomino. A good signature will have some impact on how a database will function. So we have the ECL, the execution control list, that will pop up and maybe forbid user to be able to use the database. And the other really important part is the agents. An agent that is not signed correctly won't be able to, for example, run on a server. Signing can be a bit cumbersome, can be complex. So here we have a tool that only does that. Signeasy is the first tool that we created. So he is 20 years old already. Yeah, that's some time ago. And it's pretty straightforward. So the main idea behind Signeasy is that you're going to look at your database and you have the ability to do some analysis. So here is all the option. And so it's everything about understanding my situation, correcting my situation. So let's say I'm going to do an audit. I won't look at that for now. I will go back after for that. So I'm selecting everything, doing an audit, looking at it. So that's my audit. So now I have my signature situation on my database. So stuff I read, okay, why? Well, in fact, these are signed by some users that are not part of my current environment. So they are not part of my address book. So this is going to be an issue for sure. If I do a grouping here, I will see so everything that is signed and what is signed correctly, what is not signed correctly. So I will have the ability to change that. As you see, I'm still using the FlexiView. So all the analysis tools that are part of the FlexiView are available here to do all the analysis you want. So I will have the ability to change that. I can do a sign, a clean and sign, or a sign. So, and I can set some rules. You know, I can say, okay, I want to resign my design element, or I don't want to resign what is signed by me or by the current user I'm currently using. I can set some exceptions. So, for example, you have a mail database which is signed by Lotus Development Template. Don't remember exactly the name of the signatures they use for the mail. So you say, okay, don't touch that. You don't want to alter that, or you want to change that. You have the ability to define some logs. So you can say that I want to keep a trace of what has been signed, or I want to keep a trace. So the way it works is going to store that in the nodes database, the SignEasy nodes database that we can see here. So SignEasy is the only, in fact, application that work in conjunction with a database, because I will show you after why. And the most important part is the sign using. Because here, by default, I'm going to use my ID. But I can say I want to sign with another ID. Or more interesting, I can sign with a stored ID. Stored ID are really interesting because it gives the ability, for example, to an administrator to store an ID. Like, for example, here, I have two signing ID. So to store a signing ID, and to share this signing ID to the developers, for example, without giving them access to the ID itself. So, you know, I have a good example that there was, we had a customer, they had a web application that we're developing, and the prime is, it's a web application, everything needs to be signed correctly. And so the developer needed always to ask the administrator to sign his design because he didn't have access to the super signing ID. So what they did is they moved the desk of the developer near the desk of the administrator, so he could every 5 minutes say to the administrator, "Can you sign me? I need to test." Which I would think about it is, no, that's not a good idea. With SignEasy, the administrator could delegate. So now this is what they do. They delegate the access to the signature ID without giving them access to the signing ID itself. So in full control. And the administrator can put some really complex rules about who can use that, on what he can use it, and if he wants to have a full log of what's happening with that. So with SignEasy, you can really fully delegate signatures on specific database that you can provide to the developers without creating some security situation in your environment. I was talking about the SignEasy database. SignEasy is a tool where we added a lot of command line ability. So using SignEasy, you can almost automate and create. So there is more than automation. You can create some really complex situation. We know that for example, some customer embedded SignEasy inside of their production environment. So when they push something, everything automatically is then automatic sign using a stored ID in SignEasy, and everything is managed. So you can save here, for example, I saved some configuration of signature. So because sometimes you don't want to reset everything again and again. So I saved one, for example, a default one for back office. So it's going to focus on special thing, and I can do some execution on a specific ID or my current ID. So I can have here multiple database set, just select them, resign everybody. I can also have some ways to work on the server side. So we have another plugin, not a plugin, sorry, a special database, which is batch server signing database, if I remember correctly. It's available on our website. From that, you have the ability to do some global signing on a full server with a minimum of manipulation, just saying, I want this server, all this database, apply this batch, bang, do the stuff. So really, the signing shouldn't be a problem. Signing is easy. We sign easy. Signing should be really not a problem. It's pretty. You have a lot of options that can match your requirement. I'm going to re-talk about another tool I showed already yesterday quickly, because I don't know if everybody was there or not. So I'm going to talk about AgentEasy. So as you can see, AgentEasy is a bit different from the other tool. We're focusing on one database at a time. Here, AgentEasy is working on a server level, so it's going to show you a full server. And from here, you have the ability to globally have a vision of all your agents that are on your server. So if here I'm focusing on the schedule one, because usually this is what are the trouble you want to manipulate. And what it does is it will show you in all the database. So it looks in all the database on my server and show me all the agents that are set as schedule. As you can see, I have a column here enable. Some, as you can see too, some columns are grayed out, because why? When we gather the list of the agent, we just ask the list of the agent from a high levels perspective, which is faster. And here you have the ability to go and ask more information, but this requires that we are going to open every agent one by one. So let me group that by enable to focus on what is effectively enabled on my environment. From here, I'm going to do a load information just to get the detail of the information. And here I can see that I have an agent timeline that shows me that the last time my agent ran was in 2015. Yeah, it's a demo environment. I'm sorry, I should have launched agent before doing the demo. So yeah, nothing runs since then. From there, you have the ability to see all the information about who signed it, where it is accepted to run on, and all that, as you can imagine, can be changed. So you can disable agent, enable agents, you can change the run on behalf, and change some schedule properties and everything. So it's really a tool that gives you a global vision of your agents and gives you the ability to check quickly what you can do with that. Something to show too quickly is that in AgentEasy, so it's a grid, it's a flexi view, we have the ability to create annotation. And so I want to show that in AgentEasy, because for me, I use that a lot. So let's say, okay, I want to be sure that all these agents, for example, are be enabled, and don't forget about that. I'm going to create an annotation, and I'm going to add an annotation, so must be enabled here. I'm going to put a nice color. Okay, and so what's going to happen here is going to add an extra column with a column, what I entered. The interesting thing to know is this is stored in a nodes database, so this is persistent. So the next time I'm going to open AgentEasy, this will be shown by default. So it's a way to put some notes on my environment, some annotation, and to keep them. And since it's in a database, you can even share that among your other with your other administrators and developers. So to keep some notes, so everybody knows there is some notes inside of your environment, so you don't lose important information about specific agent stuff like that, for example. So now let's talk about the tool, if I can say that. ScanEasy. ScanEasy is, I would say, the tool. It's the tool that, honestly, myself, as a developer, as an administrator, I think I open ScanEasy something like 100 times a day. ScanEasy is the tool that gives you the full effective access to your database. Here you see I open the database and I have access to the designs, knowing that we're talking about the designs from a row-based point of view. So you won't be able to change the view from here, but you will be able to check that effectively the view is here, how it is stored, is it correct, stuff like that. But the most important part is you have the documents. So you have access to all the documents you have inside of your database. And from documents, so let's say I'm going to do the My Doc. If I take a document like this one, I will see the full document content at once. So I won't talk about it, but you all know the small property box we have in Notes by default to see the content of document. Painful. That is way more efficient. It's a flexi view. So all the tool about grouping, filtering. So let's say, okay, I want to see my document by type. I need to do a filtering on something. You see, you have the tool to understand, manipulate, and organize the data you're looking at the way you need to want to see it. If I look at a field, I will have the ability to access to the field. I will have the ability to do some change. I will see what is the response hierarchy of my documents. I will have a mapping of my reader, authors, situation of my documents, and the global access to the global information of my document. From there, I can do some modification, just modify. From there, I can create some new field. So I need to create a field in my, so it's going to be a number, and it's going to be my number. Okay, and it's going to be that, and I'm going to apply, just change it. So you see, I change, nothing has been applied until I say, okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to apply that. So really the idea is to be able to have the full effective access to your document. Something to maybe, so just to clarify, we don't overpass the security of Notes. So you will be able to change the documents if you have the right to change it, for sure. But if you have the right, you can change it. Working on one document is nice. Working on multiple documents, this is usually where we spend time creating agents to understand what's here, what is not here, and everything. So this is where we have every time we have a collection like that, we have this, what we call the diff value panel, because the two first buttons are diff values. So, and inside of that, you have a way to look at your environment. So first thing I'm going to do, for example, is diff. Diff, what it does, it goes through my full collection and gives you a global situation of my documents. So it went through all the documents and it tells you, okay, so this is what I found. This field is the same for everybody, same value. This field presents everywhere, but doesn't have the same value. This one, sometime here, sometime not here, etc. So with that, already, quick insight, what's inside, because in Notes, it's pretty easy to create a big mess. I think we can all agree with that. But it's an interesting part because the ability to create a big mess in Notes is one of the, I would say, I consider it's one of its power, because then you can you're not binded by structures, but then you're not binded by structures, so anything can happen. With ScanEasy, it's easy to reanalyze this and to understand, okay, what is my current situation here? Another interesting part with ScanEasy is the tree here. As you can see, by default, we use the name of the form for the title, because this is the way we work, but you can choose anything. So let's say I'm going to choose subject, and I'm going to say I'm going to use this field as a title. And I just did. It's like kind of building a quick view on the fly, knowing that here I use a field to see the title, but in fact, if I use this kind of button, I will have the ability to define the title to some stuff really more complex. So I can use any kind of note information. So note ID, unit size, the last time it has been modified. So you can use that. So let's say I want to see the modify by. Okay, got it, right away. Now I want to see more a title and I want to use a formula. So I'm going to use a formula. So I can type any kind of formula here. It can be complex formula, and we keep you a stack of formulas. So if this is the last formula I used, and I can have my history of all the formula I used so far. It's me, and the formula can be anything. We can use formula with even DB lookup, DB columns, stuff that you cannot do in a view. So you can have here some formulas that use information from another database and to connect all that together inside of your tree. Right. Let's apply this one, for example. Okay, so I have the list of my attachment in my document right away. What I can do too is use the values. So if I use the values, I'm going to select, or I can say I don't want to select here, and I'm going to select from here. I can choose to say I want to see everything. Okay, I'm going to choose to see the full set of all my fields. And here, then I have this flexi view with all my document. We find out the title I set here, and I have all my fields available here. So I have a global vision of the field I wanted to see on my different document I selected. You can imagine now the power of it, because here I am in the flexi view. So all the tool about grouping, filtering, exporting, etc., 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 is here. So finding what you're looking for is really easy. After that, you have the ability to even add columns. So I can say, okay, I need to add a column. So to that, and I can set, so I don't know, something, and say, I want to show the node class here. So the way it works is, so you added the node class, you added an empty column, and I'm going to evaluate the column, and now I have the information. As you saw, the add column use the same system as the title. So in fact, you can add anything you want in this grid and show, so to add the information you need to see from the selection of document. I'm talking about document, but it can be a mix of design, because I would say that Scaneasy is agnostic. It doesn't care if it's a document, a profile document, a design element. For him, for Scaneasy, it's all that is a node. And a node is just that. And a node can be a design or whatever. So, I was talking about the profile. So here the profile is here. And it's a node, the same. So we can manipulate and all that the same. In the my doc, so in this collection, you saw there is another row of buttons. So we saw how we could do some analysis. So hierarchy is going to be the same as values, but showing you the hierarchy of parent response of your selection. And you will have the ability to do some mass modification. So I can, for example, select a field, say I want to modify new cats, and from there I can set a fixed value, or I can change and add a formula, knowing that the formula you use here can use some field and everything. So you can have a complex formula that's going to do some change about everywhere in your document. So without the need to create an agent. Knowing that if I do that, for example, and I'm going to apply my formula, you even have a preview, and you say, okay, please preview me the result. What's going to happen if I apply my formula to all my document before I do continue, and oops, everything is done. So as you can see, manipulating documents is really easy, but there is more. You have the ability in Scaneasy to do search. And as you can see, we have a big extent of search. You can search by, you have a list of universal ID, enter your universal ID, and we will find the document for you. You have a list of note ID, enter your note ID, we will find for that. You want to use a formula, create a specific formula to find a specific set of document? Sure, no problem. So we can do, for example, so let's say form. I'm going to do subject not equal empty, for example. Okay, and I'm going to say okay. So we found 104 document with subject, with a field subject that is not empty in my database. So it showed me everything. By default, he organized it by form name, knowing that you can reorganize that the way you want. This is, you see, we create this kind of virtual folder that, so this collection, and we have all the tools in the collection. You can create as many collections as you want. You can even save them. So you can remanipulate, organize the data you want. There is so many other tools because I see the time is running, but I'm going just to glimpse on quick tools you can have in Scans. We have access to the deletion stub, and you can, well, I don't have any deletion, but you can delete deletion stub. You can delete document without deletion stub. We have a conflict solver analysis. So here you will list all the conflicts, and after give you a UI that gives you the ability to easily manipulate and handle your conflicts in a really quick way. You have a node scene editor. Seems stupid, but so handy to have the ability to see your node scene quickly and have the ability to edit, remove some node scene entry quite very quickly. You have, so we saw some search using formula, search using a view. You even have the ability to see the content of a view. This is really, really nice. This is new in the version 20. So it's going to open and show you the effective view index on a raw basis rather than with all the formatting and everything. So here I can see effectively what is inside of my view, and I can then manipulate, organize that the way I want without the need to change a view, create a new view. We have some tools that give you the ability, some what we call the document analyzer. You're looking for some specific situation. You're looking for something that is signed, that is encrypted. So you have some tools that give you the ability to find that. You have some tools that give you the ability to compare. You can compare replication. So you will do and look at two databases and give you a status of what is going to happen if you replicate now, how everything did replicated. You will have some tools to do some copy move. So you can easily copy move. That is an interesting one just to show quickly. So I'm going to take this document and do a copy move. And just to show you, so you can copy move a document to multiple databases, and you have the choice to see how you want to move that. Do you want to copy or do you want to do a replication? So it's going to replicate just this document to the other database. So a lot of solution. Just I'm going to continue. So time is not off. So until they tell me, okay, that's it. You have some ways to look at your documents side by side. So where you can do some comparison. You have the ability to manipulate and create some folders. As you can see on the document level, there is so many things you can do on this. You have the unread, you have the read and read manipulation. You have the ability even to change universal ID of specific document. You have the ability to delete a document and so to continue on that. And you can say, I need to delete my document without the deletion stub. So as you can see, extremely rich. So many things can be done. We have a lot of, there is some help available on the website, and where we explain so a bit everything about all the possibility you can do with the tool. But ScanEasy definitely is the kind of tool that when you begin to use it, you cannot stop using that. So if you want to try, pretty easy. You can download that from the website. And if you want to have more information, you can contact Science. Science is our partner in your region. So they will be very happy to communicate and talk with you. So don't hesitate to come to try. Be aware, as we were saying, that this tool, when you begin to use them, it's difficult after to work without them. So it's like a bit like a drug, if I can say that like that. But definitely I can tell you, as soon as you begin to use them, so you cannot work without it. You've been well. Okay, I'm on time. Hello?
Yes, Eric?
Yeah.
Thank you for this session.
Okay.
I have several questions.
Sure.
First, it is almost the same as the previous. Can you tell about cost? I mean that you have a license and you have another way, yes, which can keep some money.
Okay. So the way it is, the way it is licensed, you have it's per user. So it's the person who use the product. So it's a license per user. You have multiple ways to buy that. So you have the regular license. This can be bundle. We have some bundles. And we can even do some rentals, so temporary licenses. So there is multiple ways to price that. So best people to talk to is Cyan for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And also, I speak it yesterday, and this guy also write me now that say please and many thanks to people who make Scan Easy. Yes, they are very love for this product.
It is a really handy product. I would say it changed so many times. We see people finding out that the product for the first time, and usually the first reaction in the first minutes is, why I didn't find you before? Because why did I lose my time on all this stupid thing? Because this is going to change my life. This is a life changer for developer administrator, honestly.
Yes, great. So again, a lot of thanks from our participants, and we wish that we will see you on next RNUG.
Yeah, sure. I would love that to come. I'm not doing that from here in Montreal, and to come to see you definitely on site. That I would love that definitely.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. I'm going to bring back the slides here, and thank you for everybody. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. So Cyan or send an email to support@ytria.com. So we always answer whatever way.